What's going on, boys and girls? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. I kind of fucked up, as usual, trying to record this, as it's been a while since I've recorded literally anything. So, I kind of forgot the buttons, and I think I skipped a few dialogues, like, not too many, like, I would say 3 or 4. I mean, I went into the future a little bit. So, I don't know, I might say skip in the lower right, which, well, now you know the reason. I kind of don't remember what we did last time. I think where exactly we left off last time, we were going to eat with the help of Sachi getting us some supplies since she's always prepared or whatever. So here we go. We're on the rooftop, I guess, and we're going to eat something. I don't know what that is, but this is basically where we are. So before we actually start, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting me with this playthrough. It is... It's going to be a lengthy one, I can tell you that much. I don't know how lengthy, but with me only giving you guys 15-minute episodes, I can tell you this much, it's going to be a lot of episodes. And since I'm only going to one ending, it won't be too long of a playthrough, but it'll be a long one. And I hope you guys are ready for a wild ride. I know we're still in the beginning here. We have not made any choices yet. We haven't been given any choices. So I know there will be a time where this playthrough will take its own sort of turn, and it will be unique if it already has not. So here we go, right back into it. Oh no, her plan. It'll be more than scratched.
上流の2人が逃した目を根こそぎゲットするんえ。了解ですぜ、姉子。
After I distribute what the fuck, a pair of chopsticks and a bowl of soup for the noodles to everyone, they take up their desired positions around the bamboo gutter. It seems like flowing salmon or somen, I don't know what the fuck that is a rare experience for everyone, not just me.
それではサチ先生、ダイトお願いします。はい。
Oh, alright, we're back. So I didn't skip too much. I guess if you press control, it will go to the next one. Apparently that's a keyboard function. You see, to record, I have it set to pressing shift and then, I forget whatever it's called above tab. And I was like, I could not remember what the first button was. I didn't think it was shift at first. I thought it was control. So I pressed and held that, and it skipped a shit ton of dialogue. And then I tried alt, but that only made things worse because then the game started fucking up for some reason, and it thought it was back on the desktop. I don't know. Like, things got really weird. Either way, let's get into it. In response to Michiru's yell, Sachi releases a few strands of salmon noodles into the waterway. Yeah, this is really weird to hear.
ほらほら、そんな顔しないで。まあ、ユミコも次頑張りなさいよ。次は絶対。ねえ、あまね。もしかしてここすっごく不利な位置なんじゃない？大丈夫よ。たくさん流し始めたら必ずこぼれが出てくるんだから。うっす。というわけでサチ、次お願いね。では。言った。ふふん、私だって。
This is really weird because, like, we can't exactly see what's going on, and I can't envision what's going on because I have no fucking idea what they're doing. I take it they're throwing food, and these two are the ones that are getting it, and not the others. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting out of this. Amane Makina stir their empty soup bowls with hollow eyes. Because of the intense battle upstream, none of the noodles have reached their lower position. Alright, and we'll just do this. I set up another gutter, and that I prepared as a spare at a position below Michiru. Sachi, let's get some in this one as well.
わかりました。これがジャパニーズチョ ありがとう、ユージくん。
No need to thank me. A long time ago, I had it beaten into me not to waste the things I make.
へえ。
What? I glanced to my side where Sachi is silently floating soba noodles down the waterway. At this rate, you're not going to get any, Sachi. Alright, I'll secure your share. Scooping noodles directly from the original container, I deposit them in Sachi's bowl.
ありがとうございます。ずるいよ、サッチンだけ。そういう手段があるなら、私もユージくんから直接食べさせてもらおうかしら。
Jesus fucking Christ, can someone just kill off Amane? A pair of observant hunters are on me in seconds. Hold it, if everyone starts taking noodles directly, it's not flowing salmon.
ここが
Salmon.
私の部屋だったら、ユージくんだけに女体流しそうめんやってあげてもよかったんだけど。
Jesus fucking Christ, can we please just kill her? Sexy salmon, nice ring to it.
ちょっとアマネ、あんた いきなり何口走ってるのよ。女の武器を使った買収ってやつ？それなら私もやるのよさ。
No, 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 no.
ラーメンって。
No, 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 I don't want to go to jail yet.
もう何なのよこの子たちは。ほら小峰さん、手が止まってるわよ。あ、すみません。
God damn, they're mean.
突然授業を休みたいというから何をするのかと思えば屋上で流しそうめんとはね。季節外れの転校生だけあって考えることが違うわね。
Why did we get that, like, out of all things? The 6th of June. I've heard it takes about 3 days to get a cat to take to you. The girl named Isuru Makina got attached to me even faster than that. Yes, this is the same Makina who used to flee the instant she laid eyes on me. I have no idea what changed her mind, but lately it's been quite the opposite, with her approaching me on sight.
今日も暑いね。
Yeah, true. Not that she's particularly talkative. After a small greeting, she tends to just tag along in silence. You want something?
別に。
Honestly speaking, getting followed around for no reason like this is a little annoying. That said, there's no reason for me to coldly shoo her away either. You don't need to go to afternoon class?
今日は私の選択してる授業。
Oops. I see. In other words, she's probably just bored. The schedule at the school is divided between the core curriculum in the morning and optional courses in the afternoon. It's not rare for a few of my classmates to be lazying around by vending machines after lunch. If you've got nothing to do, how about going back to the dorm and studying? Is what I'd like to say, but come to think of it, I'm also wandering around, wasting my free 5th period, so I don't exactly have the right to lecture Makina. Want something to drink? I dig my hand around in my pocket, searching for a small change, or for a small change.
お金持ってる。
Holding out her right palm toward me to declare it's fine, Makina takes out something that looks like a green stuffed animal from her pocket. The vaguely frog-shaped question mark thing seems to be a purse, as its red mouth opens wide with the snap of metal bearings. After taking out a few coins, Makina buys a juice box from one of the vending machines lined up in the passage, then returns to my side. Pulling the attached straw free with stubby, clumsy-looking fingers, Makina pierces it through the juice box and starts to slurp up the contents. Similarly, I drink quietly from my paper cup full of oolong tea.
今日も暑いね。
Yeah, we gathered. True. Now we're repeating ourselves. Probably evidence that we're both puzzled over how to get a conversation started. Who was it that told me that the man has to break the ice in situations like this? Of course, I'm not confident I could pull that off if I tried. What do I talk about with a girl like Makina?
ね、お兄ちゃん、なんかお話をして。
Stories? Stories. It's a fairly standard request, but I'm not sure where to go with this. What sort of story?
暑いから、なんか涼しいお話。
A cool story. That's a bit tricky. When you're looking for a chilling tale, I think ghost stories are the standard choice. Fortunately, I'm not lacking in that department, a legacy of the time I spent at my old school. Alright then, this is something I heard from an upperclassman at my previous school. Ah, sweet. Alright, this is the story of an American soldier who found himself on a southern island in a night flooded with lukewarm rain. The soldier was making his way south through the darkened jungle amid the pelting downpour, following a native trail with 8 companions. Their objective was an enemy anti-aircraft position. The rain had been falling for 2 days straight, leaving the ground swampy as a paddy field. With the moon hidden by thick storm clouds, the soldiers couldn't even see the back of their comrade walking 2 or 3 meters ahead. The squad's nerves were already worn by suggestive darkness of the night jungle, but the relentless rain piercing through the tree canopy was slowly sapping their endurance as well. And on top of it all, the road map they received from the scouts was vague to the point of uselessness, good for little, but further fueling their anxiety. Fuck my life. As the squad trudged on at virtual crawl through the knee-deep mud, it was inevitable that their formation grew increasingly loose. So the American soldier, a sniper bringing up the rear of the column, was desperately struggling to avoid getting separated from the rest of his unit. Eventually, he heard a distinctive clacking. Sorry, my voice cracked there, puberty and all. Distinctive clacking from some distance in front of him, rising above the sound of the rain. He recognized the sound as the What the fuck is that? What? Whatever. The platoon leader carried as a means to communicate at night, or in poor visibility conditions where hand signals were impractical. The number of times he clacked indicated an order to halt on the spot. The man dropped to one knee in the muddy water, grasped his rifle to his breast, and removed the lens cap from his scope, shielding it from the rain. An enemy ambush? Lying flat on the spot, the man pressed his strong eye against the gun's sight. The back of the soldier in front of him came into view. No shots have been fired as of yet. Earlier had indicated there were barely any enemy troops or armed guerrillas in this area. If there were enemies here, the odds were that they would be scouts, and most likely a fairly small group. As the man rested his chin in the muddy water to watch the jungle ahead, he heard the first sounds of gunfire. The enemy wasn't even 30 meters away from his squad. They'd practically bumped into each other. Jesus Christ, now I've got epilepsy. 6 lines of fire from the enemy position. Just as he thought, it seemed to be a small scouting group. Judging from the reckless way they opened fire blindly, they were probably poorly trained guerrillas who had panicked after encountering their enemy under these unusual conditions. Removing his gaze from the scope, the man grasped his weapon and pulled back on the bolt handle, pushing a 7.62mm bullet into the exposed chamber. He quickly returned his dominant eye into the eye cup of his sight. The muzzle flashes visible through the scope burned white after images onto his pupil. Fully dilated after his long walk in the darkness, he couldn't see the enemy. Aiming on intuition, he squeezed the trigger. A momentary explosion of light from his gun, and he heard an enemy's grunt from the bush some 30 minutes away. A hit. The man took his rifle in both hands and began to crawl on his elbows, and knees in search of a new firing position. After moving about 10 meters to his left, he discovered a convenient foxhole that would serve his purpose nicely. When he swung his body down into the hole, he found it was half full of stagnant water, just as he'd expected. But that fact barely registered in his mind. More importantly, from a position like this, he could snipe while hidden for a time. Sunk to the waist in the muddy water, he mechanically pulled back his rifle's bolt and squeezed the trigger again and again and again. All of a sudden, he heard a voice from the next foxhole. Since when had it been occupied? "Hey, give me a grenade." In response, the man took an M67 grenade from the belt slung around his waist and held it out, the safety pin still fixed in its place. A white hand reached out from the nearby trench and received it. "Thank you." The man was certain he had heard those words, but no matter how long the man waited, his comrade didn't throw the grenade. Maybe the safety pin was bent somehow, and he couldn't get it loose? "Hey, you okay?" As the man was speaking those words, he started to move his head to look above the edge of the encampment. At that moment, the grenade exploded in the next foxhole. An explosion at point-blank range isn't something you hear. The overpowering waves of sound aren't recognized by your ears as noise. A mass of burning air struck the man like a wall, knocking the helmet off his head and thrusting his body backward into the muddy pool. His mouth, thrown open by the explosion, was instantly filled with filthy water. As the man desperately tried to spit it out, he realized his tongue had been knocked back into his throat. He couldn't breathe. Quickly thrusting his hands into his mouth, the man peeled his tongue free with his fingers and powerfully vomited out the water together with the breathing that he had gathered in his lungs. His throat was burning from inhaling the explosion's scorching wind, and he couldn't stop the tears that were pouring down his face. His head felt like it had taken a direct hit from a fastball made of concrete, and his ears were filled with a high-pitched ringing. "Hey, you alright? Get it together." Curled up in the muddy water with his head in his hands, the man heard the voice of a comrade. At least his eardrums hadn't shattered. He felt himself being dragged up out of the foxhole by both arms. "We've got to move! Temporary withdrawal! Can you walk?" It took all of the man's effort to nod his head. He couldn't see, his ears were barely functional, and his throat was on fire. He couldn't speak. The man began to run his hands across the ground in a panic. His comrade knew what he was looking for. The man felt his rifle pressed back into his hands. Reassured by the familiar feel of his weapon, the man slung it onto his shoulder. His hand still clutching the ground, he fled that place at a crawl. Had 30 minutes passed? When the man came to himself, the rain had, ironically enough, finally stopped. His vision had largely recovered. When he looked around, he saw his companions, all just as filthy with mud. "Hey, Shorty, you still alive?" The sniper was still scurrying along the ground when that voice called to him. It belonged to a black man who joined the army at the same time as him. They'd been in the same squad in their training days as well, and the black man was his closest friend in the platoon. His greeting was casual as always. "Give me a break." The man reshouldered his beloved rifle and told his friend about the hand grenade accident. That voice from the next foxhole, the grenade he handed over in response. Moments later, the explosion. The man angrily spat out the details of his brush with death through another's stupidity. The black man listened in silence. When the story was over, after a brief pause, he finally spoke. Huh. The hell are you talking about, Shorty?